This league feels like it's getting crazier by the week. Grades and takeaways for every game in Week 12 so far. An elite defensive outing for the Houston Texans on Thursday Night Football. We'll start with the knock. The only knock on Houston, how did the Bills almost win this game? They had a shot to win the game. That would have been devastating for Houston. They had no business allowing the Bills to really have that much of a shot. And the offense, if they were just to execute on their chances a little bit more, I thought they kind of pulled off some drives when they absolutely had to. But perfect world, they could have put the Bills away a little easier. Defense, unreal against Josh Allen in the Bills. That is absolutely incredible. It's the best defense in football. It's an absolutely elite defense. They're kind of in a category in their own, and this year there aren't too many great defenses. So given that they're getting better and they have that defense, the Texans have a shot against anyone. If they get in the playoffs, they have a shot because they have that defense and an improving offense. They were doing, they're getting better while they have a backup quarterback in there. And little pressure on C.J. Stroud going forward in some big games because Davis Mills is 3-0. It's not all because of him, but there's some pressure on Stroud to perform and keep this thing going because there's a huge win to get them right. And watch out for the Texans because they have been getting better, and this defense is so unique that it gives them a shot against anyone. For Buffalo, it's like, do you have even more problems? It's supposed to be a big-time contender, and we already been worried about the defense. It shows up sometimes, but can you fully trust them? They kind of been relying on the run game going crazy. It goes crazy in this game. They still can't do anything else. We've been worrying about the weapons outside of Shakir. I mean, it's brutal. How are they ignoring the receiver position? It's absolutely brutal. But now, all of a sudden, last year and earlier this year, the offense line was great. Now it's the Texans, but you might have to see them again in the playoffs. Or you're going to see other teams know how to scheme up pressure in the playoffs. So is that a new problem you got to worry about? This was a brutal one. I guess some positivity if you had to find some. Disastrous game, and they somehow almost pulled it off on the end. So I guess if you want to think positive, you have that going for you. Bears pull off another close one where I'm really impressed with the Bears. I mean, we've been impressed all year with the new Bears coaching staff, right? It's night and day different than the last, since Ditka, maybe, for the Bears. It's obviously better, but in a game like this, I think it's very evident. The first half of the Steelers out with Mason Rudolph, again, maybe the Bears are a little fortunate Rodgers didn't play, but when Mason Rudolph, the Steelers outplayed the Bears in the first half, actually by more than what the halftime score showed. But in the second half, the Bears come out and they're playing way better defense, and they're executing better on offense as well, and I thought that really was the difference. I think the whole matchup was different in the second half. The Bears looked like the better team, and that was the difference. And for the Steelers, a letdown for the defense because the defense has been getting better. That's been the big thing with the Steelers, but not in this game, right? But given backup quarterback gets thrown in there this week, you weren't really sure if he's playing or not, or maybe they didn't know. And they still, and not all of it was on offense, but they still put up 28 points, so cut them some slack there. I think there was some key moments in this game in the first half. While the Steelers outplayed the Bears in the first half, they had some mistakes in the first half that I think resulted in their loss, and that was a fourth down stop. It felt like the Steelers were going to go up 21-7. Looked like for sure. The Bears stopped them on fourth and short. I thought Gainwell got the first to play before. I didn't see the replay or anything. Trying to watch all games at once. Ended up being a fourth down. They didn't get it. And then right at the end of the first half, the Bears were trying to get in the field goal range. It wasn't looking all that great. Caleb Williams threw it right to the Steelers, just a brutal dropped interception, and then that kind of resulted in a big play in a field goal. And the field goal is what the Steelers were dying to get at the end. So I thought those were some crucial moments. So things kind of going the Bears' way. Things went the Steelers' way in this game as well. But the Bears just keep figuring it out at the end here. 8-3. Big time for Chicago. Patriots and Bengals, wasn't all that impressed with the Patriots, even though they pull it off and you expect them to win. A sloppy start. We've seen that from them a little bit. Drake May still made some throws, eventually got some things going. I don't understand what their refusal to run Travion Henderson was near the goal line. I feel like the Patriots staff wasn't at the Jets game just last Thursday. I don't know. It was a little odd. They really struggled down there, even when, they did put points up on the board. A couple pick sixes in this game. Yeah, just the Patriots, it's hard to keep winning, that many in a row. But they're kind of fortunate Joe Burrow didn't come back. They're very fortunate that Jamar Chase was suspended in this game. Because it wasn't their prettiest outing, but they still won. The Bengals had a shot. The other thing with the Patriots, the last couple of weeks, they allowed the run game to get going on them. Typically, they've been an elite run defense. So no Milton Williams, that's a massive factor. So that's been a big reason they've been winning football games. So is that something kind of to watch here going forward for New England. Cincinnati, it would have been nice to get this one right before Joe Burrow comes back. They had a shot, couldn't quite get it. A little bit of a sloppy game from both sides. Lions pull it off against the Giants. They were trailing the whole game, and I mean they got to thank God for Jahmyr Gibbs, because without that guy, they were doomed in this game. Not that other guys didn't make plays, both sides. You saw some plays here and there, but Gibbs went absolutely bonkers, pulled it off. Hutchinson calls game at the end, and there was some more plays, but man, they're allowing a lot more pressure this year in this game, and they have in the past, and that's affecting Goff. It's affecting this offense, even though they're still capable of big explosive plays, but do they rely on Gibbs kind of getting going a little bit? I mean, other guys can make plays, so you don't want to say fully. And the defense, since the defense was kind of banged up in the secondary weeks ago, this is kind of what I expected from the Lions, but they've been playing good defense. But in this game, it showed. They let Winston and those receivers get some wacky plays, just throw it up for grabs because the guy's wide open, really. Couldn't quite sack Winston when they could have. So it was a weird game. The Lions do pull it off. Haven't been overly impressed recently, but yeah, 34 points in it, and maybe a little fortunate to win in a way. In the Giants, I mean, Jameis going out there and balling, as much as he can. It's kind of a fun guy to watch. It's a game they probably should have won. It's not very important for them to win games anymore right now, but another one they had, another entertaining one. Could have won. They had a shot against the Packers and the Lions here. Couldn't quite pull it off. But some impressive things, some disappointing things from both sides. Brutal season for my Vikings. At least my Irish won 70-7 on Saturday. At least I got that. I'm going to hold on to that for now, because the Vikings, J.J. McCarthy, I could smell him from here. It's pretty brutal. So, and everyone's trying to make excuses and try to just go buy all in on him. I don't know. I'm not buying on that. Just a rough one. They're making mistakes on special teams lately. Defense has been okay in the recent games. I'm going to let Emmanuel Wilson get some yards on him, though, in this one, so I don't know. I don't know what else to say. It's been pretty brutal. I don't know what the answer is for quarterback next year. I don't think they have the answer right now. And for the Packers, great defensive outing. Got all kinds of pressure. McCarthy created some plays. The defense looks legit for Green Bay. Special teams made some plays. The offense didn't really do. It wasn't overly impressive. It didn't really have to be, so it wasn't spectacular on offense, but defense, special teams, and a little bit of offense, they take care of business. They win 23-6. No Josh Jacobs, so it is a pretty impressive here to win by that amount against a division rival. Vikings kept beating them over the years in Green Bay too, so they didn't let that happen this time. Seahawks beat the Titans 30-24. Maybe C- a little generous for the Titans, because this game was 30-10 for a bit, but I mean, what's more important for the Titans right now? Winning games in a meaningless season at this point, or the young guys showing some improvement? I think that second part, and that's what they did down the stretch. They got kind of a spark. Cam Ward, even though it's not perfect, he made some throws. DK looks really good, special teams and at receiver. Gunnar Helm been making plays this year when given the opportunity. He had a good game in this one. There's some positivity there. I think that's actually getting the young guys going, the rookies going, is a little more important than winning right now, even though you hate to say it. They couldn't really run the ball. This game was over. They scored a lot kind of at the end, but there was a little bit of a spark. Seattle get back on track with this one. JSN just continues to go absolutely bonkers. They dominated most of this game, both sides of the ball, but teams don't just let teams get 21 points in the second half. So was it letting up a little bit, or what, Titans figure something out on them? I'm sure there wasn't full go. They felt like the Seahawks they probably won at that point, but I don't love mainly because I said the Seahawks were going to cover the spread. Maybe that's part of it too, and they did not do that, but I don't really love the allowing 21 points down the stretch, but most of this game, it felt like it was a 30-10, somewhere in there, and they dominated for the most part. Chiefs pull off the comeback against the Colts. This was an interesting game because the Colts got to win this game. I mean, they didn't play all that great, but things were most definitely going their way. Like, Chiefs were not looking like the Chiefs. I guess that's happened this year. Colts caught them on a kind of a rare day in Arrowhead to not be looking like the Chiefs, even though it's their offseason. And the Colts couldn't pull it. They got to pull that one off, right? You have to pull that off. Things were going their way from the start. I mean, the Chiefs actually moved the ball on the Colts pretty much all game. You have to credit the Colts for making plays on the ball early. They stopped them in the red zone. I mean, there was the Chiefs had a touchdown taken off the board that was really the wrong call as well. Then Kareem Hunt, who had a monster day, did have an uncharacteristic fumble. Mahomes had the interception early. So, because of all that, the Colts got to figure it out. The Chiefs were a little sloppy. They were off their game, but they still pull it off and win. So that's a big-time win for them. It's kind of a letdown for the Colts here for that reason. But the Colts were moving the ball early, and they just really couldn't do it anymore. They had all kinds of chances to put this game away. It just really feels like, even though they make splash plays through the air, and they have all season, a little less now, but it really feels like they rely on Jonathan Taylor going bonkers. That's why I was a little worried with the Falcons game. Like, Jonathan Taylor went, whatever's after bonkers, that's what he did. And it took overtime. They got to send it to overtime, and they got to pull it off in overtime to win. They won, but it's a little bit of a problem, and it kind of shows in a game like this. I think teams are starting to game plan for them a little more properly. Not every team can. It's still a really good team, but Chiefs moved the ball on them. It was just all about executing, and they pulled it off, executing in the end, so it's a big-time win. They still got some slop to kind of cut out of their game right now, too, but it's going to be interesting down the stretch for both these teams. Two teams that a lot of people expect, well, who knows about the Chiefs, but expect to be in the playoffs. We'll see how they finish. Big games, big divisional games will obviously be coming up. So last week, even though the Ravens won, it was a sloppy game. We kind of chalked it up to being a divisional rival game. Things get weird in the AFC North. The Browns defense is tough. This one, they win again. It doesn't look pretty, and I just not impressed with the Ravens. It's the Jets. They're things aren't going well for them this year. And I know the Ravens figured it out. They pulled it. The defense played pretty well. I'm impressed them stopping Breece Hall on the ground. They couldn't really stop him through the air on the ground, so that was good. And the offense clutches up at the end, kind of like last week. It does enough, but Lamar seems off. Maybe he's just not 100%. Anybody else watching probably says the same thing. He just doesn't, something's a little off with him. And Derrick Henry's a little hit or miss right now. Not all of his fault. They can't really get much going. The defense hasn't been spectacular this year, but it's a little better. It was better in this game, but it's the Jets offense, right? So I wasn't overly impressed, but they get the job done. Joe Burrow's going to come back for the Bengals, so the Ravens, they got to play a little bit better here, even though the Bengals defense is terrible. For the Jets, they switch to Tyrod Taylor. They throw for a little more yards, but all of a sudden now they can't run the ball in a game like this. Teams typically are running on the Ravens. If the Jets would have ran the ball like they normally do, they might have won this game, but they just couldn't do it. The defense actually played well, so we can't give them a terrible grade. Defense played pretty well. It's surprising they couldn't really run the ball. They couldn't do enough. 10 points isn't going to be enough, obviously. Man, the Raiders are terrible. Just absolutely brutal for the Raiders. A new staff comes in. They make them worse with coaching on the field, but with what they did in the offseason, they even traded for and paid a big-time quarterback, and they made the team worse still. Everything the offseason didn't make sense. I knew that at the time. And now I think they're going to go from one extreme to another. I'm predicting, but I think they're going to go crazy, and they're going to be like, oh, God, now we got to panic, and we got to pay everybody all this money. And, hey, they might be a better team, but they might be in a little bit desperation mode. You never want that. So this is ugly for the Raiders here. The Browns, Shedeur Sanders' first start, gets the W. He started the game pretty well, which resulted in the Browns starting pretty well, and that kind of put it away because the Raiders weren't going to score on the Browns like that. Other than the start and a few flashy plays, the offense, Shedeur wasn't great after the start, but he didn't really need to be. They had a couple flashy plays down to the stretch, but other than that, the offense really didn't do a whole lot. I guess they didn't need to. With the defense, it was an A+ outing for the defense. Myles Garrett is looking like the greatest of all time. It sure feels like he's going to break that sack record. Just another unbelievable performance. Would like to see more Dylan Sampson because that guy is an electric player. So the Browns draft class looking pretty solid, obviously there. So a big-time win for them. The Raiders were favored by 4 in this game, and the Browns just embarrassed them. A slop fest from the start here with this one. You got a tipped ball landing in Walter Nolan. Walter Nolan has been playing great, by the way. Landed right in his lap, and they score. I feel like there's a lot of that in the NFL this year. Tip balls that just magnets. Just magnets. Just find the players, and it's just been I feel like it's been happening like crazy this year. He goes and scores. Trevor Lawrence throwing interceptions like crazy. Liam Cohen looking at him like he's an alien. That's been pretty common this year. And then bad coaching. Why are the Jags going for it on that last fourth? Like a minute 40 left. They're on the 19-yard line. They're up 3. It's like, all right, they got it right. It's a weird game. I feel like I could say it for both teams. Like the Cardinals, I could say the Cardinals should have won the game, but then I could say the Jags absolutely should have won the game long before it was over. Like how are they making these? How are they blowing it? Right? I just thought it was I felt like, I mean, Brissett threw the ball well. The Jags made explosive plays when they needed to. Travis Etienne, ran the ball pretty well. The Cardinals couldn't stop the run, or they couldn't run. Neither could they run the ball. Did I say that right? Stop the run or run the ball. I don't know. Just sloppy game. Just felt like I don't think these teams are bad, but it felt like two bad teams going at it at times. It was kind of entertaining, though. But the Jags pull it off. Whoever won it was going to need a little bit of luck. I don't know. The Jags tried to choke that, though. It's a wild game. What a comeback for the Dallas Cowboys. 24 unanswered points for Dallas. The new-look Cowboys looking pretty good. Not to start this game, though. Kind of went back to their bad defense, and the offense couldn't do much. They're making mistakes. Maybe some uncharacteristic mistakes. Then they figured it out, and the defense looked good. They shut down the Eagles the rest of the way, and the offense was going crazy. I mean, there's a shot that CeeDee Lamb isn't the best receiver on this team right now. Just the way George Pickens is playing, it's absolutely absurd what they got going there. They're going to have to pay him a lot of money. But, I mean, vibes are up for the Cowboys. Things are looking pretty damn good. It's a big-time win for them. Yeah, things weren't going their way. The penalties went their way, but things weren't really going their way, especially in the start. Just weren't going their way, and they dig themselves out of a hole. They pull it off. It's a huge win for them, absolutely huge. And for the Eagles, C might be generous, but they did dominate early. The defense continued to look elite. I'm going, man, this Eagles defense is elite once again. It wasn't really there earlier in the year. It's there on the offense. There was some huge plays from the receivers down the field. This is looking great. And then they completely shit the bed. It was terrible. They couldn't run the ball. Barkley's trying to do too much. The Hurts can't really do. The penalties were ridiculous. It looks, yeah, it's an excuse, a legitimate excuse when you get penalized that much, or that was, if we didn't get penalized that much, maybe we would win. But I'll say it, the Eagles usually are on the good side. I put it that way. They're on the good side of the calls, typically over the last several years. Anyone that's been watching, I'm not saying every week, but it's been pretty good for them. It's been pretty good. And now that they're finally on the other side and they blow a 21-point lead to the Cowboys, it's not a great look for them. Not a great look. Sometimes it feels like they're relying and getting in tush-push situations. I don't know. It's not pretty right now. I'm impressed with the defense the last couple games, but they've barely been escaping some games. So it's even though they've been winning before this, it hasn't been pretty. So that's a rough one. So what do we expect from the Eagles down the stretch? Are the Cowboys going to make a comeback for the division? There's a lot on the line going forward here. Some tough games for the Cowboys. Cowboys got some tough games coming up, actually. So we'll see. But entertaining comeback from Dallas here. All right, you wouldn't know this from this final score or the grade, but the Saints, believe it or not, had a shot to win this game. They moved the ball on the Falcons. They just made they were in preseason mode. They made mistakes you only make preseason. We'll give it a pass if it's early season. We're in week 12, off a win, and the Saints look like a preseason football team here in this one. But from the start, botched the handoff. Here you go, Falcons. Here's a free field goal. They return a kickoff. Then you miss a kick. You eventually missed another kick that was pretty crucial as well. The missed kicks would have made it. If they made it, it would have been a tie at some point, whatever. Then they had a snap go over the quarterback's head. They got stopped from the 1-yard line 2 times. Credit for the Falcons defense for goal line stand around, making stops there, getting after Shuck. The botch handoff is just all the Saints' mistake, but the Saints were moving the ball. There was at times like this kind of looks easy, and then they kind of go in preseason mode. So it's just brutal for the Saints. You got an F because of that. You can't. It's just ridiculous that that's happening in week 12. Week 12. So believe it or not, they had a shot to win this game. If they didn't make those stupid, dumb mistakes, they probably win this game, believe it or not. They couldn't really stop Bijan in some crucial moments. It was like a 2nd and 24 at one point, and it was a bomb for a touchdown. Other than that, they made plays on defense, but just ridiculous. They only ended up with 10 points in a game like this. The Falcons, they did enough. They executed a lot of it was the Saints shooting themselves in the feet, but in the foot. Is the feet or the foot? Never know. But the Falcons, they made plays. They made goal line stands. Kirk, even though didn't make perfect plays all the way through, he made some plays down the field. Bijan made some plays. No Drake London. So, I mean, it's kind of weird. They let games slip away, and now this one they pull off here when you kind of feel like the season's done, and this guy's hurt, that guy's hurt. So, but a divisional win, 24-10. Can't trust the Saints after that one. They did just look pretty good against the Panthers a couple weeks, but preseason is what I kept thinking. It looked like a preseason team in that game. Can't happen in Week 12. The Rams dominate Sunday night. This game was over instantly, it felt like. The dominance from the Rams. Every week, I feel like I'm saying Stafford somehow getting better. Devontae Adams somehow getting better. That connection's ridiculous. The Rams are getting, this is the favorite, by far the best team in football. It has been for weeks. I'm at the point where, anything could happen. It's been a weird season, too, but a lot of season left, a lot of playoffs left on top of that, but it almost we're getting to the point where it feels like it's going to be a surprise if the Rams aren't in the Super or even winning the Super Bowl. That's what it feels like. Things are going to change probably, or maybe not. That's how good the Rams are right now. In a weird season where it feels like anything can happen, it doesn't feel like, the Rams are going to get taken down, but we'll see. But that's how good they are right now. The Bucs, man, they've completely went cold. They were outmatched against the Rams. They move on to the next one. The schedule really lightens up. Every year it feels like they get cold through a stretch. Thought maybe they can start, not win, but get back on the right track in a way. Didn't happen. Baker a little banged up, so we'll have to see what goes on with that. But, if he's healthy, there's a light here at the end of the tunnel. But it just doesn't give you, even if they start winning games, a game like this doesn't give you, in a game like the previous games, doesn't give you a lot of hope, really, in those huge games in the playoffs. Like last year in the playoffs, they probably outplayed the Commanders. They kind of choked the game away. They can't do that, and then what happens when you play the better teams like this? It doesn't give you a ton of hope right now, but there's a lot of season left. I think they're going to go on a run at some point, as long as Baker's healthy. We'll see. Rams, unreal. But that'll wrap it up for this one. Let me know your guys' thoughts. I'm trying to think of a different video to do going forward here, something more for the end of the year playoff-like theme, replacing this one, unless everyone just loves this. But always taking suggestions, but we have our Week 13 content coming up, so join us for that. Like, subscribe. No, I can't talk. All right. We're going to wrap it up. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.